On a freezing winter night, while an entire town slept safely inside their warm homes, a 14-year-old boy stepped out into the snow completely alone. No one told him to do it. No one expected him to. He didn't have money, he didn't have proper tools, and he definitely didn't have an easy life. All he had was a broken machine, freezing hands, and a decision that he was going to do something, even if no one ever noticed. Every morning, people in that town woke up to something strange. Their sidewalks were clean. The snow that had blocked their doors the night before was gone. There were no footprints, no signs, no explanation. Just silent help that came out of nowhere. No one knew who was doing it until one night, during the worst storm of the year, someone finally saw him. Then another person stopped, then another, and within minutes, the boy who had been completely alone became the reason an entire town came back to life. This is not just a story about a boy. This is the moment one small decision changed everything. In the quiet town of Willow Creek, Ohio, winter didn't just bring snow, it brought stillness, the kind of silence that settled deep into the streets, into the homes, and sometimes even into people's hearts. It was a small town, the kind where nothing much ever changed. There was one main road, a diner that served the same people every morning, a gas station that looked exactly the same for years, and a high school football field that lit up on Friday nights. People here didn't chase big dreams. They lived simple lives, worked hard, and stayed where they were. For decades, everything in this town revolved around one place, the steel factory. It wasn't just a building, it was the heartbeat of Willow Creek. Families depended on it, futures were built on it, and entire generations gave their lives to it. Then one day, without warning, it shut down. No goodbye, no second chance, just locked gates and silence. Hundreds of workers lost their jobs overnight, including Lucas Turner's father. At first, people tried to stay hopeful. They told each other it was temporary, that things would go back to normal soon. But time passed and nothing changed. Weeks turned into months, months turned into years, and slowly something inside the town started to fade. It wasn't just the jobs that disappeared, it was something deeper. Energy, purpose, and most importantly, hope. Lucas Turner was 14 years old when all of this happened. He wasn't the loudest kid or the most popular, but he noticed things. He noticed how his father stopped laughing at dinner. He noticed how conversations at home became shorter and heavier. Some nights he would hear his parents whispering in the kitchen, their voices low and filled with worry. Other nights, his father would sit in front of the television, staring at it without really watching anything. Lucas didn't fully understand everything, but he felt it. Something was broken, not just in his home, but in the entire town. One cold afternoon, Lucas walked into the town library, a place that still felt warm and alive. It was quiet, peaceful, and full of possibilities. That day, he found a book that would change the way he saw everything. It was about young inventors, teenagers who had built simple things that made real differences in people's lives. Lucas sat down and started reading, and with every page, something inside him began to shift. These weren't adults with money or resources. These were kids, just like him, solving real problems with whatever they had. That night, Lucas couldn't sleep. One thought kept repeating in his mind. What if I could do something like that here? What if I didn't have to wait for someone else to fix things? The next day, Lucas started looking at his town differently. He paid attention to the problems people faced, especially during winter. That's when he noticed something important. The elderly in the town struggled the most. Snow covered their sidewalks, ice made it dangerous to walk, and many of them couldn't even leave their homes. Lucas made a decision. He was going to build something to help. He didn't have money, so he used whatever he could find. Old radios, broken appliances, discarded motors, and used batteries from recycling bins. His bedroom slowly turned into a small workshop filled with wires, tools, and half-built ideas. Night after night, Lucas worked. He tested, failed, and tried again. Motors burned out, wires sparked, and many times nothing worked at all. There were moments when he felt like giving up, when the idea seemed impossible, but he kept going. Every failure taught him something new. After weeks of trying, Lucas finally built something that worked. It was a small machine made from scraps, but when he turned it on, it moved forward and pushed snow out of its path. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. Lucas stood there, watching it in silence, and for the first time in a long time, he felt hope. The next morning, before sunrise, Lucas took the machine outside. The town was quiet, and the air was freezing. He walked down the street until he reached the house of Mrs. Henderson, an elderly woman who lived alone. Every winter, her sidewalk was buried in snow. Lucas turned on the machine and watched as it slowly cleared a path to her door. When it was done, he turned it off and left without saying a word. That morning, Mrs. Henderson opened her door and stopped in surprise. A clean path stretched out in front of her. She looked around, confused but grateful, wondering who could have done it. Lucas didn't wait for thanks. The next day, he did it again, and then again the day after that. One house at a time, he quietly helped people. Soon, the town began to notice. People talked about it everywhere. Who was clearing the snow? No one knew. The mystery grew, but Lucas stayed silent. Then came the storm, the biggest snowstorm of the year. Snow fell heavily, and the wind howled through the streets. Lucas knew that morning would be difficult for many people, so he went out again, alone, working harder than ever. Then, suddenly, the machine stopped. It broke down in the middle of the storm. Lucas tried to fix it, but his hands were freezing and nothing worked. For the first time, he felt doubt. Maybe he couldn't do this. Maybe it was too much. He sat there in the snow, almost ready to give up. Then he saw headlights. A truck stopped nearby. A man stepped out, looked at Lucas, and then grabbed a shovel from the back of his truck. Without saying anything, he started clearing snow. Then another truck arrived, then another, and within minutes, people started showing up from all over town. Neighbors, friends, even strangers came together. They worked side by side, clearing snow, helping each other, and bringing life back to the streets. By sunrise, every sidewalk in Willow Creek was clear. The next day, everyone knew the truth. It all started with one boy. Weeks later, his story spread beyond the town, and a technology company reached out to help him improve his invention. But the most important thing Lucas built wasn't a machine, it was hope. He reminded people that even in the hardest times, one small action can make a difference, because sometimes you don't need money, power, or permission. Sometimes all it takes is one decision to start, and that decision can change everything.